Okay, I think we're going to get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the information session for the international students of veterinary sciences. We are going to get going with the next slide here. So I would like to introduce all of our panelists today. And I ask that once I refer to you, please introduce yourself and what you do at the college. So I will start with Phil Hayes, our academic chair.
Okay, you guys can hear me?
Yes.
Hi, there you go. Phil Hayes. Yes, my name is Phil Hayes. I'm the academic chair for the Vet Sciences School, and quite a few years in working in the college system. But very excited as we're rolling out our programs to talk about new additions to our programs and what future learning will look like here at Northern College.
Thank you, Phil. And our next panelist is Edna Sang, the manager of our international operations. Edna.
Yeah. Thank you, Tia. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you can get the information you want from the session today.
Thank you, Edna. Leanne is not here yet. She'll be joining us shortly, and then we can introduce her. Leanne Smith is the Veterinary Sciences Programs Coordinator at Northern College. And I'm going to move on to Kelly Broderick, who is the Administrative Assistant for the Veterinary Sciences Programs at Northern College.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Broderick. As Tia said, the Administrative Assistant for these programs, Veterinary Sciences programs. I've been with the college for many years, and it's a pleasure for me to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And our next panelist is Maureen Rintamaki. Maureen is the International Student Advisor and Risia at Northern College.
Good morning, everyone. So as Tia said, my name is Maureen. I am the International Student Advisor. And I am a regulated international student immigration advisor. So I am the person that can give you advice for your study permit extensions, and your postgraduate work permits. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Maureen. And our next panelist is Julie Labbe, who is the admissions officer at Northern College.
Good morning. As Tia said, I'm the admissions officer here at Northern College. I've been in this role for a little over 10 years. When you're sending in your application here at Northern College, I'll be reviewing your documents and sending you those offers.
And then I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Tia Leppala, and I'm the International Relations Support Coordinator for the International Operations Department. And I will be a host today for this webinar. And we are moving on to the next slide. So we are inviting you all here. We have a special financial incentive of $1,000 that is going to be given to international students who attend a future or this virtual veterinary sciences session. The attendance is tracked, so whoever is attending here today will qualify for that if you end up enrolling in one of our veterinary sciences programs in the future. And we just want to clarify that this $1,000 award is added to the student account right away after they attend into the first semester of the program. And who would like to take over this? Phil or Kelly?
I guess I can start off with if that works.
Thank you.
So our programs here are located at our vet sciences programs are all located essentially at the Haileybury campus, which is really an immersive campus that there's a number of other programs on it, but it really is the School of Veterinary Sciences is a big part of it. The school does have a licensed animal hospital, that animal hospital clinic that is fully operational. And what it does is, so students really do get real world work experience at it. Located in this town of Haileybury, which is part of the town of Timiskaming Shores. So it's right on the shores of Lake Timiskaming, and which is a beautiful space, and very embedded in the community. So many people in the community are on campus for different. There's a lot of activities on campus for the community, so students really get integrated in that community. And as we'll go through, you'll see our vets, the hospital that I was referring to, the clinic does have a number of facilities that we've invested in, and including a necropsy suite, as well as fully functional equipment in all of our labs, such as our surgery lab, dental labs, animal grooming. So you'll see these as we go through.
Okay, thank you, Phil. We'll move on to the next slide.
I'm going to turn this over to Leanne. She's now here, who is our program coordinator for our vet sciences programs, and can take us through a little bit of what we're offering.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm just going to try to change the view so we can see can you see the presenter or no?
We can see that. Yeah, we can see her up at top. She's good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna close that. Okay, Leanne, here you go.
Thank you. So why study veterinary sciences? Basically, we have a lot of hands-on experience. So that is the number one thing we hear about when we are comparing ourselves to other colleges. We do have on-site animals that live with us. And so we like to have you working on them right away. More small class sizes, like it says there. So more opportunities to ask questions, do things get involved, work with the animals, work with models, things like that. The state-of-the-art building. So as Phil was saying earlier, a lot of upgrades have been done to that building. We have a lot of equipment that we are able to use, and I basically essentially have at our advantage here. So we have 5 programs. Excuse me, I don't know if they went through it with you this morning or not, but we have the veterinary technician program, the veterinary assistant program, an animal grooming program, wildlife rehabilitation, and companion animal physical rehabilitation. And each of those programs has their own equipment, essentially. So we do have a lot of stuff that everyone can go in and play with. And we have, especially the physical rehabilitation program, that has a lot of modalities. So essentially different things that would help rehabilitate animals. So that's a lot of fun to work with. Yes. Other than that, I think we can move unless anyone has any questions. Are we holding questions till the end, or are we?
I think if anybody has questions, I would probably take them as we go along. Might be easier.
So yes, if anyone has anything.
Yeah, I've got the Q&A box open as well, monitor it as we go through. So feel free to put any in.
Awesome.
Okay, and we will move on to the next slide. So Leanne, would you like to
say
again? I'm sorry. Here we go.
That's okay. I grabbed this. So essentially what our accreditors do is they ensure that the criteria that you'll be learning is state of the art. It makes sure that you have the same information as all the other colleges out there. So we all teach the same stuff. It also ensures that you are ready to work and be graduates work ready, as soon as you are finished. So the program, the veterinary technician program, is accredited by the OAVT, so Ontario Association of Veterinary Technicians. and the Canadian Veterinary Medical Association, or CVMA. And then the Science Center, so the building that Phil was alluding to earlier, is accredited by communities or corporations that ensure that the animals, the welfare of the animals, is ethical, and that we treat them ethically, and that the building is in good standing, and that we can actually complete procedures on animals. So that side of things is through the CCAC, so that's the care of the animals that are in our building. The CVO, so this College of Veterinarians, that just makes sure that we can actually do any treatments to the animals. And the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs they're the same. They ensure that the building itself is essentially good enough to house animals, that we're treating them well.
Perfect. Thank you, Leanne.
No problem.
And these are our undergraduate studies programs in the veterinary sciences. We have a one-year college certificate, that is the animal grooming program. This is not PGWB eligible. And then we have veterinary assistant program, also a one-year college certificate, and this program is PGWB eligible. We do have a concurrent dual certificate program that would include a veterinary assistant with animal grooming, and that is a one-year dual college certificate. And then we have veterinary technician two-year diploma program, which is PGWB eligible. And we also have veterinary technology wildlife rehabilitation program, which is the three-year advanced diploma program, and this is PGWB eligible. Is there anything else, Leanne, you want to add, or I can move on? Okay, perfect. Thank you. We move on to the next slide. And we are moving into our undergraduate program section. So, Leanne, would you like to take this? Animal grooming, thank you.
Sure. So our animal grooming program, as you can see here, is a one-year college certificate where our students are actually working on animals that if you're wanting to, like you can see here, some of them are being bathed and brushed, some of them are being clipped and cleaned up and looking pretty, but they also do shows where you can dye their hair, you can make them all funky colors, and you go and compete too. So we actually have, in our animal grooming program, there's a lot that you can do. You don't have to just kind of work at home bathing animals every day. You can be in competitions and things like that. And we also train to that as well. So that's another thing that our animal grooming offers. But yes, so it's pretty much it from there. As it says here, we are one of the only two grooming programs in Ontario that offer the certificate. A lot of people are in-house trained, or they just start up their own business thinking that they know what they're doing, but we ensure that the students understand, what the skin is doing if I use this certain shampoo, or what the coat is doing, or if this animal has allergies, or if this animal is frightened, how do we work with it appropriately to ensure that that gets done. So you really want to make sure that you do have a certificate in animal grooming when you are starting off in your business. It's not just about cutting hair. Okay. And then, so if you are interested, just like the next point here, if you are interested in running your own business, we do set you up for that. So we do have courses in the program that ensure that you are ready and understand how to open your own business and just basically start it up. And then we also have here, like Tia said earlier, the veterinary assistant program and the animal grooming program. We actually have them running concurrently, so that way students can take both of them at the same time. And then the last point there is what I was talking about earlier, where students can actually go and be master stylists. So if you're interested in competing in shows, things like that, you can definitely go ahead and write your master stylist And we have a course that helps you with that as well. So again, some of the courses that we talked about earlier, small business management. So that's the one that's going to get you started on your own business. The professional grooming one, we have actually professional grooming and coat and skincare and the master stylist course are all taught by wonderful, wonderful people who are highly skilled and accredited in their field. So you know that you are getting the best education out there. And then the admission requirements are just off to the side there. I don't know if Tia wants to talk about that side of things.
Sure. The IELTS score of 6.0, excuse me, is required with no band less than 5.5. And we have a new winter 2027 intake option where the first semester would be online. This is not PGWB eligible. And because the first semester is online and the second semester can be completed right after in the summer within 4 months, there's no study permit required, but it's only for this winter intake only. And I'm going to move on to this. Phil, would you like to take over this one?
Yeah. When we talk about the labor market for animal grooming, it's really we're talking about the careers afterwards and what we're seeing. And so in Canada, across Canada, that there is a steady growth with demand for pet groomers, and pet groomers are being used not only in, for example, your independent grooming shops or with tied to let's say large, for example, pet stores or pet supply companies. They're also used in clinics and animal hospitals, and so we see for example, vet technicians wanting to learn also animal grooming. The other thing that's driving it is that the existing groomers, many of them are retiring, and so the replacement demand, that point there that I have, is that there seems to be a steady ongoing retirement of those individuals that need to be replaced. So it's about just under 2% annual employment growth, which is steady. So that there is some pretty good sense of demand for careers out there. So we've included the link as well for some of this data. The other thing too with it is we do train, especially for students to be entrepreneurial. And so it's not just working for someone else. Many of our graduates start their own businesses. And so that's a really great opportunity as well that can be applied anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And we're going to move on to the veterinary assistant. Leanne, would you like to take over?
Yes. So the veterinary assistant program, for those of you who don't know what a veterinary assistant is, the simplest way I like to describe it is if anyone is interested in working with animals, specifically just the care of animals. So you really want to be there throughout their whole time when they're in the hospital, or if you're working at a shelter, you are really just one-on-one with those animals. So you make sure that they're fed, that they're happy, warm, clean, and that they get exercise, and that they're not stressed, things like that. That's what a veterinary assistant really does. They do tend to do a little bit more of the, we call it housework of the clinic. So you're the one that's making sure everything is clean. Our medical records are in order, some receptionist work as well. So a good overall rounding person would really benefit from being a veterinary assistant if you really love to work with animals. We'll go to the next slide. So our programs, we offer a lot of the courses, sorry, I should say, in the program have a lot to do with animal, because they're in the middle, the animal behavior and handling is the key component, I would say, to a veterinary assistant position, because you are working with every animal one-on-one. You, like I stated, you are going to be the ones that are handling them the most often. So you really need to understand how to do that appropriately and safely. And we train for that. And then, so essentially, if you are interested, some people do move on to be a veterinary technician. It's a little bit more education, a little bit more medical fields, but I'll discuss that when we talk about that program. But yes, and like we said earlier, the veterinary assistant and the animal grooming program can be taken together. Just gives you an added skill. Oftentimes we find that veterinary assistants, when they are working in the clinic, they are the ones that end up bathing the animals. And like I said, taking care of them a little bit more. So they tend to kind of grow and have a lot of creativity. So this just helps provide that. Go to the next slide. I think it talks about the courses. Yeah. So like I said earlier, we've got our animal behavior classes, the clinical procedures course. That's going to be your handling course. Again, we use our live animals, our colony animals, right from day one, as soon as you enter. So you are working with them right away. Then we do teach you a little bit of animal structure and function. We do teach a little bit of anatomy, again, so that way you're able to handle any emergencies that may happen, or that you understand when an animal is hurt, what is hurting, and how to help them. Oftentimes, like I stated earlier, our veterinary assistants do tend to work in shelter medicine. So we do provide that course as well. So these are some of the courses that differ likely from other veterinary assistant programs. And as stated before, our teachers in the program are highly specialized in each of these fields. So, good.
And I will talk about the admission requirements here. For the veterinary assistant program, we require an IELTS score of 6.0 with no band less than 5.5 and grade 11 biology. And we're going to move on to the next. Then we do have the veterinary assistant and animal grooming one-year dual college certificate option, where you can take the both programs at the same time. So you're combining essentially 2 years of school into one. And what changes is that you will be adding 6 weekly hours of courses to the veterinary assistant program in the fall semester and adding 10 weekly hours of courses to the veterinary assistant program in the winter semester. But there are additional cost consideration for this, tuition, textbooks, and equipment, of course. And we're going to move on to the veterinary technician part. Leanne?
Yes. So the veterinary technician program, it teaches you how to essentially be, how I like to describe it is basically we can take human medicine, so, human nurses. Veterinary technician is an animal nurse, essentially. We do x-rays, we help with surgery. We're in there, if you can just look at the pictures, we're in with dental cleaning and x-raying as well. We work as a lab technician, so you can see our microscopes are there. We're looking at blood, skin, feces, urine, all of that stuff. And then we're working one-on-one with the animals as well. So we are also taking care of them just like the veterinary assistants are doing. We're ensuring that they are clean, healthy, happy, that if they need a bandage, we'll bandage them. If there's an emergency, we have the knowledge to be able to do a little bit more than just first aid. So it's just kind of a little bit more education than a veterinary assistant would take, with a lot more responsibilities. Go to the next slide. Yeah, thanks. So like we said, it is very intense. It is a 2-year college diploma program that has a lot of hands-on skills. So this is our most in-depth program. And like I said earlier, it is the most accredited program. So they really want to make sure that you understand all of your stuff before you go to work as a veterinary technician. This field is also regulated outside. So if you do decide to become a veterinary technician, you can be licensed to work as a veterinary technician, almost like how doctors have to be doctors. Veterinary technicians have to be licensed to be able to do the work in their field. So even though you went to school, you still have additional education. Edna, you have your hand up?
Yeah, Leanne, sorry for the cut in.
That's okay.
I just see the Lisa from Brazil. She has a question here. Ask more information about the difference between veterinary technician and a veterinary assistant, I believe. Although you
Yes.
introduced it, I just, because we're on these slides to see if you can give her a summary.
Perfect. Yeah, that's not a problem. Actually, the next point there, if you look, um, the next one says we assist in surgery. Like I was stating, we perform dentistries, we take x-rays, we complete most of the diagnostic work. Really, the differences between the two, how I explain it to a lot of people that don't understand our field, is if you compare it to human medicine, we have a human doctor, which is on our side, the animal side, a DVM, so a veterinarian. Then we have the nurses. Now, in human medicine, there are many different types of nurses. So you have nurses that just take your x-ray and they don't do anything else. We have nurses that take your blood and don't do anything else. We have just the nurses that see you in an emergency and you won't see them ever again, kind of thing. As a veterinary technician, we actually do all of those things. So we are the entire hospital. So we take care of all of that. We bring all that information. We're the ones that are putting IV catheters in the animals. We're the ones that, if your animal needs surgery, we're the ones prepping them for surgery. We're the ones administering the drugs. We're anesthesiologists. We do a lot of things. And then any information that we have or anything that we have done always supports the veterinarian. A veterinary assistant would be in the human world, would be that nurse that just comes and sits by your side, gets you your water, make sure that you're comfortable. Again, they're cleaning your room, changing your bedding, maybe they're bringing the nurse may have taken your blood and they'll hand it to someone else, and that person goes and gives it to the lab. That's what an assistant does. A veterinary technician would take the blood, I'd give it to the assistant, and the assistant would package it up and then send it to the lab. Or as a technician, I could look at that myself, depending on how your clinic runs. So you can kind of see the stages there. So there's definitely a lot more education and training in veterinary technician, but we don't actually work with the care of animals too often. We tend to leave that for our veterinary assistants. And the veterinary assistants support the veterinary technicians, and the veterinary technicians support the veterinarians. So it kind of works like that. I hope that answers questions, kind of how I like to compare the two
Thank you, Leanne.
fields. No problem. And like I said before, that last point there, becoming a registered veterinary technician, that's again just that licensing, because we do have so much on our plates that we are required for and that we have to do. And these are things that we're in the same field as veterinarians. So if I do something to an animal and it doesn't go well or it's incorrect, I will get in trouble for that. So we really want to make sure that the students that are graduating from a veterinary technician program are educated enough to feel confident to be able to go and make those decisions. So one of the ways that helps us feel confident is writing this veterinary technician national exam. So we set our students up to be able to write that exam. And that exam also kind of shows the world that you have taken a veterinary technician program. And even though you've taken a two-year college diploma, you can actually prove by a national exam that you know your stuff, essentially, which helps you to become a licensed veterinary technician and working under a doctor. So it kind of goes like that. Yeah. So a lot of our courses in the veterinary technician program ensure that you are ready to start work right away. So we have our clinical exercises. So that's your practical classes. Like I stated earlier, those are the classes that you're going to learn, even how to give an animal medication, like a tablet, or an injection, like a vaccine. Little things like that, all the way up to how to perform CPR on an animal, or how to put in a urinary catheter or a nasogastric tube so you can feed that animal appropriately. Then we have laboratory procedures and techniques. So as I stated earlier, that's the one where we're looking under the microscope. So we can look at blood, skin cells, muscle tissue. We can look at feces and urine and a whole lot of other stuff. Excuse me. We also take samples of hair and fur and put it in little vials, and we see if it grows anything, because there's certain bacterias or fungal funguses, I guess you could say, that will do damage essentially to animals. So we're the ones kind of figuring out what's going on with each animal. The necropsy lab helps support our anatomy labs, because you really do need to know a lot about anatomy. We are, like I said earlier, we are the ones that are giving the medications or the drugs that will affect all the organs in an animal's body, and that is solely the veterinary technician's responsibility. So you really have to make sure that you understand the anatomy and the physiology part of it. So our necropsy lab is that hands-on part where you actually get to hold a kidney in your hand and say, yes, this is what a kidney looks like. Then we move into surgery, dentistry, and radiology. In our surgery course, again, because we are supporting the veterinarian, you do have to be a part of many surgeries, so you understand what is happening in that surgery to better support them and be there for them. Then we have our dentistry. We're the ones that are cleaning teeth and applying any fluoride or anything. We're looking at the mouth. We're doing exams. We're making sure that the gums are healthy. We do not extract teeth. So that is one of the only things, kind of like surgery. As a veterinary technician, we don't do surgery itself. And the other thing we're not allowed to do is extract the teeth, but we do everything else. And then radiology, so we're the ones taking the x-rays. And again, so much more in the veterinary technician program.
Okay, and I'm gonna take over the admission requirements here. What a veterinary technician program. You are required to have IE LTS score of 6.0 with no band less than 5.5. We require grade 12 math with a minimum of 60% mark, grade 12 chemistry with a minimum of 60% mark, and grade 11 biology with a minimum of 60% mark. And we do have a new winter 2027 intake option for the veterinary technician diploma program. You would start semester 1 in January, and there's no break over the summers. So you would do your semester 2 during the summer semester, and then you would directly merge into year 2 in the fall right after. So there are no breaks at all. And this means you would have a faster completion timeline, 16 months instead of 20 months. This is still, I believe, it's a PGWB eligible. At the same time, there's no eligibility differences to that. There might be, actually, there shouldn't be any differences also to the length of the PGWP, because it's the studies of the program.
Exactly.
And we're moving on to the next. The labor market. Phil, would you like to take this over?
Yeah, one of the things that we want to highlight is our vet technicians are being employed in clinics and hospitals everywhere, but we also want to draw attention to the large animal market, and because that's often what sometimes people don't realize. This is actually a picture of a farm where one of I think 3 or 4 farms that our students actually have classes at. And these farms are pretty much fully automated. So that red machine that you see coming through is actually feeding the cows based on what their nutritional needs are at that time. The vet technicians are involved in making sure that the health of the cow and doing tests and working with a veterinarian to make sure that the cow's health and milk production is optimized. In this case, it's a dairy farm. So When we look at career opportunities, the agricultural sector as well is one area that is drastically low in vet techs. There's a real need for it across Canada, but especially in Northern Ontario. So it's just one of those areas we try to really highlight. The other thing that we're seeing in some smaller communities are things like mobile clinics and telemedicine is creating new roles, and we're seeing that across the sector. And so where we have an advantage is our students really do get hands-on experience, not only working in the hospital, the clinic hospital that we have, but also out in the field in the farms. And so we do field trips out there, and sorry, field classes. And so it's an area we wanted to highlight with students that it's a very there's a lot of lucrative opportunities there.
Thank you, Phil. And we are moving on to the kennel duty section. Leanne, would you like to jump in?
Yes, sorry. Actually, this coincides with what I want to say. Phil, you definitely reminded me. I absolutely forgot to talk about our other species that we do take care of here as well. So I'm glad kennel duty came up because that gives me an opportunity to do that. So not only do we have our cats and dogs that are shown here, but we do also have courses. As a veterinary technician, you are also required to know the anatomy and care of many species, not just cats and dogs. So we do train also for laboratory animals. So essentially we call those little pocket pets, they're also called, which happens to be like that picture there are little rabbits, mice, rats, guinea pigs, ferrets, that sort of thing that you would learn about. In our colony, we house rabbits and rats for us to take care of and to work on. So you will also, as an example, be taking blood from a rat and a rabbit. You will be anesthetizing, so you'll be putting the little rabbits to sleep for a little bit to do a little procedure, and then you wake them up. That is all of your responsibility. And then, as Phil had stated, we also have our large animal course where our students actually go and they work on a dairy farm, a cattle farm, a beef farm, and horses. But you also learn about chickens and a lot of different farm animals. So we've got sheep and pigs all in there, so you do have to know that information as well. And then we do kind of sprinkle in a little bit of wildlife. So our students do have one or two courses on how to care for wild birds. And it also kind of brings us to talk about any birds that are in the regular home. So like budgies and parrots, things like that. But also we work on pigeons and chickens as well. And I think that is about it. So kennel duty here is one of the courses. You have one each semester because you have to take care of the animals that you're working on, right? They're here for us. So we want to make sure that, I guess that's last sentence says that there. We're here for them. I didn't even realize that.
Thank you, Leanne.
No problem.
And here we have some important information for the applicants. Instead of going through each step here, we're going to share this recording and we're going to share the slides. So you will be able to look at this more closely and see kind of what the requirements, the time commitment, the time management needed for these programs, and everything else you're going to learn in this field and what is going to be important that you have in order to be successful in these programs. And we're moving on to our graduate programs. And Leanne, would you like to take over this one?
Yes. So the Veterinary Technology Wildlife Rehabilitation is a 3-year advanced diploma. It includes the veterinary technician program for your first 2 years, and then your last year is the wildlife rehabilitation specialty. And in all of that, you end up graduating with what's called an advanced diploma in veterinary technology. So you will be a veterinary technologist when you graduate from this program. You can go to the next slide and then I'll kind of talk about these pictures. So again, one of its kind actually in Canada, that we know of, at least. I've done a lot of research, but there may be other little small communities that offer some sort of programs. But again, just like our animal grooming program, anyone can go out and try and take care of a little baby rabbit, but unless you are actually educated in that field, you're probably not going to do, unfortunately, a great job. So we want to make sure that if you are interested in helping those animals, those vulnerable wildlife, that you do have that educational background. So, which is why we encourage students to take this program. So having the veterinary technician as your background education helps to ensure that you understand now the workings of the internal organs and different species for now moving into wildlife. So we're essentially just adding on more species to what you already know. So in the technician program, you learned about cats and dogs and farm animals and lab animals. And now we're going to move into the wildlife. So you'll learn about polar bears, regular bears as well, black bears, brown bears, raccoons. And then we move into the birds, like I said, the eagles and the raptors, things like that. And then the program, like the next picture there, does concentrate heavily on our reptiles. We tend to find in a clinic setting or also outside, if you are working with the government or with an organization that takes care of wild animals that you wouldn't normally see in the home, we do find that students who are working in a clinic with wild animals that you would see in the home tend to be a lot of reptiles, so a lot of lizards and snakes. So we ensure that you have that information as well. Then part of our teaching, part of the education here is so that way you do have the knowledge to be able to write a national exam. So same thing like our veterinary technician program, the wildlife rehabilitation field profession does have their own exam as well. And we ensure that you are ready and able to write that exam once you've graduated and have the skill set to do so. Next one. So a lot of our courses, like I stated here, we talk about our avian studies, so a lot of birds, mammalian, so that's where you're going to get that, the bears, the moose, the deer, and then obviously our reptile and amphibian husbandry. The biosphere orientation, many people don't really understand why they would need that, but if you are working with animals, the goal of wildlife when we think about it is basically backwards from what we talk about when we talk about our companion animals, so our cats and dogs or our farm animals. When we're working with cats and dogs, we tend to want to love them and feed them and tell them it's okay and feed them with our hand and support them and care for them closely. It's actually the opposite for wildlife. We actually would prefer that they don't depend on humans. They still need to, at the end of the day, their home is in the wild, not with an actual person taking care of them. So the education on it is a little bit different, which is why you have to understand where that animal lives and you need to replicate it. So that biosphere orientation kind of course helps to do that. So you actually, this is a course that's done over a weekend, and you go and visit a site and you are out exploring where animals live and in their habitat. So what you are learning is trying to understand and how to mimic where those wild animals come from. So that's a key component of that. And then we do, like we have some pictures throughout the slides that you've seen, we do go on field trips where we're able to handle or see some of those wild animals. Again, we try to keep it minimal because we want, in wildlife, we want the least amount of human interaction as possible, but we still have to teach you. So we ensure that we're handling animals that have been handled before or that are not going to be released. So you'll see the polar bear in that last slide. we have a sanctuary where those polar bears are not going to be released, so they understand us and we understand them, and we can work with them and hold them and care for them. And same with these reptiles. They won't be, same with, there's a lot of birds that we'll go and visit. They can't be released, so we can learn on them. But again, your end goal is to release them and not have them dependent on humans. We don't want that. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the admission requirements for this program. They are the same as they are for the two-year veterinary technician program. So i.e. LTS score of 6.0 with no band less than 5.5. Again, the grade 12 math with a minimum of 60%, grade 12 chemistry with a minimum of 60%, and grade 11 biology with a minimum of 60%. And how this works is you can complete the first 2 years in the veterinary technician program, and then you can specialize in your third year in the veterinary technology wildlife rehabilitation. And we're going to move on to the next one. Phil, would you like to take over the labor market?
Yeah. And I think this is interesting because our graduates from the 3-year program, you touched on it, but I just want to make sure it's understood. Our graduates can write their vet technician because they're in the vet technician stream the first 2 years. They can choose to work as both either a vet technician in, with domestic animals, or they can pursue the wildlife or a combination. But when we look at the market growth for the wildlife specifically, there's growth in the sense of there's drivers, external drivers that are creating more of a need for this. So when we look at things like urban sprawl, like as cities grow and take over wildlife, you're seeing displacement of wildlife more and more. We see wildlife adapting to urban centers where, geese are setting up nests on top of buildings and coyotes and other animals are making their way into communities. And so, there's sometimes capturing, but then there's also rehabilitation. Animals get injured, then they have to be reacclimatized into an area. We're also working, we also work and are growing the area where captive wild animals in, for example, sanctuaries are being held. So that's another area of growth that that we see for our graduates, where they're working with wild animals. And it could be in a zoo, but it could also be in a wildlife rehabilitation center where those animals they can't be re-released for a number of reasons. So there is a number, there's different pockets where students can work in this, working with wildlife. I was just yesterday had stopped at a reptile rehabilitation center in just north of Toronto, and they're one of our partners. And so there's different areas, but a lot of that growth is coming from as we as societies grow and expand into those territories. How do we actually develop those approaches of being able to develop some sustainable coexistence? So yeah.
Thank you, Phil. And we're moving on to our graduate certificate. Leanne?
Yes, thanks. So our companion animal physical rehabilitation, I know it's a really long name, it's long to say too, but essentially what it is if you think about human medicine again, we'll compare the two. Let's say you hurt your arm and there's no bones broken, it's just really, really sore and you don't understand why. You, as a human, tend to go to your doctor and your doctor says, I don't know, maybe you should go to a physical rehabilitation specialist. So your physiotherapy. So we go to a new place and we say, my arm hurts, we don't know why. And they actually help us and look at our muscles, feel them. Maybe they look at maybe tendons or maybe some nerve damage possibly. There's more going on in that arm than just there's no broken bones, which is usually what people tend to go for, right? So a human medicine doctor can't fix it, but a physiotherapist can. So we do the same thing when it comes to animals. So if a dog is limping, but there's no broken bone, we can then take them to see a physical rehabilitation specialist, and they can actually help determine why that animal is limping. And now, if it's a muscle thing, we can encourage them to create more muscle by doing different activities. So some of the pictures here you see are actually building muscle. Some may be that the animal has some nerve damage, so it doesn't really understand how to use that leg again. And so we can help with that and ensure that the animal, our goal in physical rehabilitation is to get them as close to normal as possible, either after an injury, an event, or on the flip side of that, people do use physical rehabilitation to have to build their animals' muscles and their agility. So if you are competing, a lot of clients will be competing, those frisbee tosses or swimming competitions, things like that. They'll actually see a physiotherapist to help their animal get better and improve in that sport. So we do sports medicine as well. You can go to the next slide while I chat about this next one. So you do have to have, same thing, we have to have the veterinary technician diploma first. Again, there's a lot of information, especially when it comes to anatomy, that you'll be learning about. In the veterinary technician program, you have to understand anatomy and physiology. But in the physical rehabilitation program, it dives much deeper. Like I stated, we don't just look at the arm as one muscle or the leg as your hamstrings and your quads. We actually look at all of the individual muscles that make up the hamstring or the quadricep. And also the ligaments and the tendons in there and the nerves in there and how they all play a role. So it's a more in-depth field. And then the fun part is how to figure out, I don't know if this term is relevant anymore, but there used to be a show, MacGyver, his name was, and he would make different fun things, or he would try and figure out what he needed to do, but he had no resources to do so. And so we often say that the companion animal physical rehabilitation program is a little bit of MacGyvering your rehabilitation status. So we do have all the fun, fancy equipment, like walking on the underwater treadmill, like you saw there. So as we're walking in water, we're building muscle and we're pushing against something. Or if we increase the height of the water, we have buoyancy, which means we're relieving stress on the joints. Now, let's say a clinic doesn't have that underwater treadmill. You still, as a physical rehabilitation technician, you still have to know how to get those same results without that fancy equipment. So that's where that MacGyver thing comes into play. You have to understand how the muscles are working and what is available to you. So are you taking them maybe to a beach? Are we walking in sand? Are we going up and down a hill instead? Are you carrying them and someone else is moving their joints so that they don't have stress on their joints? Those types of things. So I like this program. I find is really innovative. These are for the students that are excited to learn different things and do different, are constantly being challenged. Every single scenario that you end up in is going to be different than the last one. And everyone's recovery is going to be different. So I find that students really grow in this field if they have a really passion to help animals. What I find as an example of another one of what rehab does that often students kind of connect to is, now that social media is out, we often see those animals. They'll show videos of an animal that can't walk, where it's dragging its hind end around. And then they show the success story of how they did work on it. They walked it every day. They gave it some medicine. They took care of him. And now all of a sudden he's running through a daisy-filled field of flowers, right? It's the best thing that ever happened to him. So that's all you. That's all the physical rehabilitation technician. And you help support that. So we do work closely with the animals and the owners to ensure the best possible outcome for your animals. The program is situated to assist with people who are already in the field. Because this is a continuation of your veterinary technician diploma, people tend to already be working as a veterinary technician and they just want more. They're interested in more education, and this is one of those programs that tends to check all those boxes. So it is provided at a distance with a 1 week residency. So I'm sure we'll chat more about that. Oh, we can go to the next slide.
So I'm going to talk about the admission requirements for this companion animal physical rehabilitation program. You would need to be a graduate of a veterinary technician or a technology program, and this program is not PGWB eligible. And how this works is through Northern College, you can complete your first 2 years in a veterinary technician program, and then you can apply into this program to specialize after the 2 years. And we have a new winter 2027 intake option for this program. It's online, and you have the possibility of doing full-time or part-time studies. And again, this program is not PGWB eligible. Would you like to add something,
Yeah,
Phil?
it's not PGWP eligible, but it is, it also doesn't require a study permit, right? So it does, students, the only time that they're actually have to be on campus would be for the 1 week residency week that we do have. So it really is, this is a growing sector that is globally growing, which I think is the next slide. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that it doesn't require a study permit.
Thank you. And Phil, you want
Yeah.
to jump in again?
Yeah, just kind of continuing on what I was saying. Really, I mean, what's the driver for this program? Leanne kind of touched on it. We all love animals. We're more and more as a society. We're humanizing animals in a way, right? We have our pets, we dress them up, we spend a lot more money than probably previous generations did on animals. So for that, really, the pets are really almost like children when we talk about humanization of these animals. Pets are living longer. Because of this, they're seeing the care that they need to live longer as well. So really, this is a growth market that we see in not only in Canada but in other global markets, especially in developed countries. So we are the only program offering this in Canada. So it is a great dovetail to a vet tech program that you can do either back at home or while you're here. So from a professional development side, it is a great opportunity, but it's meant to be offered through, for the working professional. So we know that our students are getting into the workforce. We're seeing students taking this at all different ages because of that sector growth for this. Clinics are adding rehab facilities. But there's also an entrepreneurial side, similar to what we talked about with animal grooming. We do see some of our graduates starting their own rehabilitation operations and working with vets to get referrals. So,
Thank you, Phil. And now we are moving on to the questions portion. If anybody has any questions, feel free to let us know. I think
Tia, there's a question in Q&A by Rebecca.
Okay.
She said, I have already been offered a place in vet program and have my study permit approved for September 26th. Is it possible to apply to do wildlife rehabilitation later if I was able to do so?
Yeah.
Yeah, Leah.
Yes. So all you need to do is once you're here, come and speak to Kelly or I, and we'll get you set up to ensure that you flow right through into the wildlife rehabilitation program. Yes, we do that often for our students.
And you would work with the international team to update your study permit for the 3-year. The other thing too, just to mention, because the first 2 years are the same, let's say there's a study permit for whatever reason, if there's a delay and you can't start in September, we do have that winter start will allow you to actually go into it as well because you join, again, it's the same program. You just join Vet Tech in January and then you would update it. And so you would be able to continue on into wildlife as well into that third year with no delays.
Mhm. Lisa has another question. How is the market in Haileybury or near? Lisa, can you please clarify? You can switch on your microphone. You can talk. Do you mean the campers or you what kind of market do you mean? Lisa, can you hear us?
She's referring, she says jobs. She's talking about
Uh,
employment.
So I can mention so we do have a number of our students in this market do if you're talking about for graduate employment, um, many of our students do leave town to work in other parts of Ontario because of the opportunities. Um, but oh, can you guys hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
But there are a number of vet clinics in this area because we also have the agricultural side. We're a pretty big agricultural side. There's that, but most of all of the vet technicians and vet assistants that are in this region, within let's say an hour, are all of our grads. So we do very well. There's quite a bit of veterinary services here, but many of our students, because they come in, about 75% of our students come from Southern Ontario and the GTA, and many of them are going back, which is great. That means we've got a really strong network of alumni working in the sector, and then a portion of them choose to stay here as well. So it's good. There's opportunities both locally, but also in other parts of Ontario and Canada as well, if you'd wish. The fact that we get many students coming from out of region is a good reason. Like we're a destination program for that.
Edna, was there any other questions? Edna?
Get a job or still studying. Yeah, there's a question here. I'm just saying, sorry, about getting a job. We do have students that do work. Um, It is a very intensive program, I would say. That's one thing that we might want to mention. Like there's quite a bit of hours, like you're in school and you're also working in kennel, but there is opportunities to work in the community as well as on campus. We do see that. But students do with between kennel duty and all of their work, there it is a pretty intense program.
Just for Lisa, I just sent you a link in the chat box. I just had a quick search in the Indeed website and put a veterinary assistant. You can see their post there. You can search veterinary technician or the other vet program we just presented this morning to have a quick idea about the local job market. Because the city here, I choose Timmins. You can choose Haileybury, Kirkland Lake, whatever in the Timmins area as well. Okay.
Do you see any other questions or?
Yeah. Paul Drew, can I transfer to a university with a diploma? And which universities can I transfer to? Phil, do you know we have any pathways with university regarding the VETS program?
The vet program is really meant to be a standalone, like it's a discipline in itself. None of the vet technician programs really, there have been some cases where vet technicians have chosen to become veterinarians, if that's the case, but it isn't really, it's, you might be successful in the sense of you have more content, but it is a very separate discipline with a different pathway. And so if you are looking to become a doctor of veterinary medicine, that is a separate pathway that you might want to then explore on your own. They're not really meant to link because they're like I said, they're very different paths. It's like almost like a registered nurse and a doctor. Different, you can do it. It's been done, but there's not really it's not really we're preparing students to work in the labor market, in the market for as vet technicians. Leanne, I'm not sure if there's anything else. Like I think I summed that up.
No, yeah, it's essentially that. We have had students in the past go to be veterinarians. Oftentimes they do start out as veterinary technicians and they'll work for a few years and then realize, you know, I actually really do want to become a veterinarian. And some schools do provide a couple of courses as transfer credits, so to speak, but you won't get, let's say, a year off of your studies, or you may have a lighter course load, but it won't reduce any years. You will have some education and work background, which will assist you with your DVM career, but it unfortunately won't take off years from your study. No.
Thank you. And I just share a link. I don't know what if the information is Science Student Success Center from which school. So they listed about 5 universities, said there are 5 veterinary schools in Canada: University of Prince Edward Island, University of Guelph, University of Saskatchewan, University of Calgary, and the University of Montreal. So I guess it's same to the other, from a college education to university. Each university, they have different requirements. The requirements of transfer or admission varies from university and program to program. If you're really interested after your graduation from our college, then you need to send your application. You need to reach out the university, send your application for their assessment to see if you can transfer how many credits you can transfer to that specific university. Again, if you have such a kind of demand after your graduation from our college, we can definitely help you to reach out the potential university, right?
And
Um,
one thing too, we're very conscious of the courses that you could use for transfer credit. So it's making sure like some of our heavier course loads, would be like course for course transfer. So being able to provide that, that's one of the things that we're trying to ensure is that students have mobility where they can then apply that transfer credit. So it would lighten up your loads, but it's not what I think we're saying is it's not do this and it's a 2 + 2 type of thing. So yeah.
okay. Question from Rebecca. What does the average day look like while studying in the vet technician program? I have worked in the animal rescue for 10 years, so I think I have a good understanding of the demands of the career, but just wanted to get a picture of the typical day of the program.
Ooh. I think maybe Leanne or Kelly.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I can grab that one. I'm glad that you have background already, so your day may go a little faster, actually, since you have a little bit of a background. But essentially, a normal day, every single day, Monday, so you're in school from Monday to Friday. Every day is different because we have so many courses. So we have in your first semester, there's about 10 courses that spread out throughout the entire week. So your classes will be different at different times, but overall, your general day would be kennel duty first. So you have to take care of the animals just like you did. So 6 in the morning, you have to be on site to care for the animals until usually around 8 o'clock. But again, if you have experience and you can get things done a little quicker, you'll probably get out a little earlier. Classes start at 8:30. Most of your classes will start at 8:30. You do it a lunch hour. Most likely, we try to ensure students don't work too much over the lunch hour. So 12:30 to 1:30 is usually your lunch break. Between every class is a 10-minute break. So about every hour to every 2 hours, you'll get about a 10-minute break. And again, because the timetable varies so much, you may have one class in the morning or you may have 2. So then you'll have lunch, and the same thing happens in the afternoon. You have 1 or 2 classes with a break in between. And then we move into the evening time. So around 5:30, you'll either have 5:30 to 6, you'll either have kennel duty again, where you care for the animals in the evening, feed them dinner, make sure they're happy and healthy and ready for bed. Or you'll have, sometimes there's a little one class. We do every now and then throughout the week, we'll have a class that ranges from 5:30 to 6:30 or 6:30 to 7:30, but that's not often. We do try to keep our evenings free for our students, again, so they can work or study. No, you don't. I did mention kennel duty. I mentioned it because it is part of your daily tasks. However, you don't have it every day. It is split among all of our students that stay here in the vet sciences programs. So you're not doing kennel duty every day. You don't have to wake up at 6 every day, but it is planned in there for you. So there will be times where you will have to have kennel duty evening and night, sometimes just the morning, sometimes just a night. And as I said, your courses rotate throughout the week. So that's essentially how it varies. You'll have, some will be animal use classes. So sometimes you're in that new fancy building over there. And then sometimes you'll have theory classes. So you're in our main building here and you travel between the two. And it's a very short distance. It's just like a little walkway between the two. It's not far. Yeah, I hope that answers. Anyone else want to add anything? Yeah. Good.
I think the only thing I want to mention that my observation at least is, we really provide a lot of opportunities for the students. Like when I said immersive experience, it really is. And the students that do quite well, they're in the building all the time. Like they're volunteer, like they might be taking on additional duties in the kennel. They're interested in supporting things like, if there's something that comes in that is, a new case or for something that might be interesting to look at, they're volunteering to help out. They're involved in study groups, all of those types of things as well, getting support with their peers and working with the faculty. So I think there's definitely a lot of opportunities for students to, like, there's the minimal standard of what you're going to get, but then there's all these additional layered opportunities that I think you can really grow while here.
Thank you, Leah and Phil. Any other questions? This is the last question. See. I don't see any other questions to you.
I don't think so either. So if we have no other questions, we can just move on to the details. If you think you have any veterinary science in specific questions, you can email this email here to vetsciences@northern.on.ca. Any admissions related questions would need to go to admissions@northern.on.ca. And if you have any specific questions about kind of the BGWB eligibility, that type of questions, any immigration type of study permit questions, you can email our general email at international@northern.on.ca. And we will, if we don't have the direct answers, we'll find the answer to you and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Thank you, Tia, because we don't have too many attendees today for this session. So I also put my email there for specifically these 4 attendees. If they have any further questions, you can definitely reach out to me as well. So select the program you want to study is one thing. Also, I understand as international students, you have different plans regarding like after your program completion. You either choose to work here in Canada or you will plan to go back to your own country. So with that being said, immigration piece will be another critical part here in your whole study plan or career plan here. So if you have any further questions, please reach us. We want to give you a full picture about the whole piece to study overseas based on your personal, career plan or academic plan as well. Yeah. All right. If we don't have any further questions or comments, that's the session here for today. Thank you so much. I want to give special thanks to our academic team here to support the session and our support team here as well. Thank you to all the 4 attendees for today's session. I also put few immigration piece information here for those who plans to, after their program completion here in Canada, who want to work in Canada and who probably may be considered to apply for their permanent residency here. I have the RCIP information website here, RCC RCIP and TEDC RCIP. RCIP means the Rural Community Immigration Plan Program. So that's through this program, you can apply your permanent residency here in Canada. However, there are some conditions or requirements. For example, you must have graduated from public post-secondary institution here in the region, and your program must be 18 or 16 months longer. I forgot, 18 months, probably. There are also other, conditions as well. So I give you the link. You can have a look. After the session, we will gather all the information here in the session. We will share the details of the program links, the immigration website links, the video recording to all of you as well. So thanks again for your attendance, and more questions are welcome if you want to reach us and you have further interest in the program and the college. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
So no-
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.